to you this necklace that I've created for Automaton 2021. I'm calling it MBMC, which stands for My Body, My Choice. And in my presentation today, I would like to share my thoughts with you about the inspiration and processes in the making of this piece. I started slate jewelry about 4 years ago, though I have been making jewelry for over a decade. But when I discovered I had a huge love for metalsmithing, I knew it was time to share my work on a more global scale. Locally, I'm known for creating unique and edgy statement jewelry, and I've been so fortunate to have my work shown internationally, both at Milan Jewelry Week and the upcoming Romanian Jewelry Week. For Automaton 2021, we were to examine technology and its influence on jewelry, as well as on our daily lives. Are people more or less connected? Is automation in our production creating a stronger bond with our clients? Certainly, I admire the freedom that technology like 3D printing has brought to jewelry making, but it's not what I'm about, and I did want to explore more of the social impacts of technology. In terms of the craft itself, I keep it simple. I'm happy with my basic tools, and as a student of ancient history, I have such respect for those artisans and what they were able to craft thousands of years ago. I strive to pay homage to those skills in my work. I know that it comes across in what I do. I've been told my work looks old and industrial, and while this can be seen as negative, I am happy with what I create. When I first heard about the scope of Automaton, my instinct was to create something centered around time and Salvador Dali, as his work has been a tremendous influence on my life. However, his painting, The Persistence of Memory, was done in 1932, so it wasn't going to work. But in doing my research, I came across the work of one of his contemporaries, Federico Lorca, and his most widely known play, Blood Wedding. I also started learning about the women of Spain in the 1920s. They had few rights, little education, and were often subject to arranged marriages. In 1928, Lorca followed the newspaper articles about one such ill-fated arranged marriage that led to murder. Hours after eloping with her true love, Francisca's husband was shot dead by the brother of the man she had been told to marry. This quote from Lorca, "To burn with desire and keep quiet about it is the greatest punishment we can bring on ourselves," spoke to me when I first read it. It encompasses the lack of romantic and sexual freedom women had in Spain in the 1920s, as well as speaks for all the voices that have been denied their right to love in the 100 years between then and now. It is sadly ironic that Lorca was murdered by firing squad for his own sexuality. So now that I've discussed the inspiration, let's look at the details. Firstly, the color palette. 1920 Spain is shown through muted warm tones of cream. In my piece, I've represented these colors using a satin finished brass and distressed handmade paper, because these finishes add a warm, glowing ambiance to the piece. I've also made the shapes delicate and feminine, yet they are strong enough to stand up to wear and tear. A modern canvas line is done in darker tones, from the rich gemstone to the heavy distressing of the piece. I think these color palette and style differences balance each other in a really complementary way when you see them side by side here. You can see on the longer paper rectangles, I've included a brief synopsis of both women's right in Spain at the time of the murder, as well as how it was Lorca's inspiration for his play. Now, another way I'm incorporating the history of Spain into the piece is the use of filigree. While filigree dates back to 3000 BC, in Spain during the 1920s it was a very popular choice for jewelry, done in both gold and silver, as you can see here. By handcrafting this simple wire filigree design, I'm again choosing to show my love of time-honored traditions and my dedication to doing things the old-fashioned way. See that I've used it here in the body of the female figure, and I think it has such a feminine component to the piece, which is in itself about women's own empowerment. And with such things, there's always the dichotomy that while this looks fragile, just like how women may be perceived, it is stronger on the inside. A lesson, and not to make judgments based solely on looks. I also wanted to link the two cultures and time periods by using something that is common to both, but then is actually even more ancient, and that is the use of graffiti. Now, this image here was actually found in the ruins of Pompeii, and when you translate it to English, it is a pretty sexual comment, but that is a story for another day. Numerous graffiti artists, both in Spain and Canada, are recognized for their important contributions to public art space. On the left, an image showing the work of some of Spain's best street artists, and on the right, a view of Toronto's Graffiti Alley. And in Vancouver, we actually host a mural festival each summer. Graffiti is a way for a city to recognize its heroes, make social commentary, and bring people together in conversation. You can see my graffiti on the choker. I've etched some simple romantic Spanish words into the brass. Now, the use of the choker was intentional, not simply because it would have the strength to support the hanging components, but again, it was a style of jewelry popular in the 1920s, where chokers were actually a symbol of luxury. In the end, we get down to the nitty-gritty of this, and that is the subject of automation and technology. While I've drawn inspiration from a murder with an arranged marriage gone wrong, when you look at technology for women in the 21st century and meeting men, I know a lot of women are using dating apps. They're commonplace now in the dating world. You get on there, create a profile, and swipe right and left as your mood takes you. And so in the body of the woman in the piece, you can see the iconic swiping hand, and it is on a spring, so it does move. It is there as recognition of how important the apps on our phones have become for us to connect as a society. It gives women the opportunity to have control over who we are paired with, what kind of relationship we want, on our own terms, and on our own time. And so with this technology, there comes a whole new lingo. And sexting can be flirtatious, for sure, but it also can be really blunt. It gives women the power to say exactly what they need. No hidden agenda, no batting the eyelashes, and leaving room for misinterpretation. I think it's quite freeing to be able to define exactly what you're looking for when it comes to relationships, from a quick hookup to marriage and family. So this, too, is embedded in the body of the piece. The text bubbles make it clear what she's looking for. Is this kind of tech-driven communication bringing people closer together? I think it can. We can control how much interaction we want in our relationships, and with like-minded people. Through the app's AI, you've been paired with a person who shares some similar likes and wants as you, as long as you're being honest. Yeah, it's a whole new set of rules and behaviors. Certainly, if I found myself back out on the dating scene, it would be challenging. We don't necessarily court in the same way anymore. But it's an interesting paradox that has come from all the choices these apps have given us. Do these apps leave us second guessing? Does it make it actually harder to settle on a connection today if you feel that there may be a better profile being set up by someone tomorrow? Here we are, my body, my choice. It comes from a place where a woman was being forced into a relationship she didn't want, and evolves to where women can take complete control of their own sexuality and relationships through technology. I think the piece reflects the similarities and differences between the old and the new, Spain and Canada, and the balance between strength and beauty.